Welcome to Vlog Thursday 283. Yes, Marcus says, someone say pizza. Yeah, that's my son. He always wants pizza. We will have to cut this off at about 4:45 because that's when I got to go pick up my son and probably put some pizza in him too. All right. Lots of people here for pizza. Pizza be great. Someone just had some leftover mac and cheese. No, that doesn't sound great at all. First thing I want to mention this at the very beginning, and the links are in the description, but I'm going to pull it up real quick. And that's our business technicalities channel. So we're posting away and sending more things to that particular site. If you'd like to watch some of the business videos we do, that's where they're all going. So a few people, a couple comments, like you get people saying, "Hey, what happened to the business videos you do?" And I'm like, "Well, they're all, they're on the other channel now." So we do have a separate channel for all the business stuff. There is a lot more going on there. Every day we post more. We're building up a library of content because, there's actually a couple more that'll be posted within the next day or two. I hired an editor for that one that just takes the process and runs with it. So if you're looking for any of the business videos, we branded them all business technicalities. Now that we have more content on it, I'm starting to push that a lot more. All right. Let's see. Hope you're having a lovely day. I am having a lovely day. It's been good so far. Looks like YouTube not wanting to load. I don't know about that. It seems to be loading here. So, good afternoon. All right. Now, the other things we wanted to talk about today is going to be TrueNAS. So, we're going to jump right in on that because there's a lot of, there's something that I didn't understand. And maybe I overlooked this somewhere. But we're going to talk a little about the new TrueNAS release. And it's cool that they got a new version out, but I have kind of a problem. And can someone point me to this? And feel free, if you're watching this in post, and point it and leave a comment down below. I assumed improperly, maybe a few of you did too, that when they said we're going to be releasing TrueNAS Scale, and when they released it and it was 22.02, I was figuring they're following the standard Linux cycle of releases that you see in other distributions, such as Ubuntu, where we put the year and then the month, so we know when it was released. I love that naming schema. Microsoft has even decided to adopt it with some of their updates, which is great. So I like when the naming schema follows like that. But now they have a new release, and it's still 2202.2. And I don't know, what did I miss on that's the naming scheme? Because it feels like it should be, what is it, June? So it should be 2206. But I guess it's not. It's 2202.2. So yeah, I don't know. That's a weird naming scheme they had for it, but it is just it's another update to specifically TrueNAS Scale. Now, TrueNAS Core is still following. Where's the core in here? This is all Scale release notes. TrueNAS Core still follows. It's at version 13 right now. The TrueNAS Core, the 13 isn't just the 13th version, like in naming. It's based on BSD 13, I believe, is how they're naming that one there. So it's a little bit different how they name it in Core. As long as the two names are easy enough, even though they have different names, someone will just call it sometimes TrueNAS 13 or TrueNAS 22. You know which one you're talking about. I think that part's relatively important. So no big deal, but just a minor complaint about it. Now, someone had messaged me about having problems reach out to us for help with some Kubernetes problems, and it crashed. I really haven't spent enough time with it. I've crashed it more than I've got it working. So I'm looking, this version I loaded fresh again to do some more tests. But there's still a lot of improvements and things that got fixed, but it feels like there's still a lot of bugs in here. And there's other people with similar problems with the things not working. I really, as someone says, when using Kubernetes, GUI slows down to a crawl for a few minutes. Doesn't automatically use, let's encrypt certificates. Becomes unresponsive when installing some apps. This is one I've run into with it previously. I just don't feel like it's production ready. I think people should play with it. I think it's a cool product. I don't think I would run production workloads on it right now with TrueNAS Scale. So it's exciting that they're working on it. I understand its use case very much. So I think that's really cool. Yeah, I get that it's a second update to the February 2022 release, but I don't know. I just feel I don't maybe I'm just weird and think it should be named that way. I'm not an expert on that. It feels like it I don't know. But I guess it still has the same name. So isn't it called Angelfish, I believe? So I know that's what they're doing, but I don't know. It feels like they should just give it a new name. Branch out for 2022. This one's called what? I think it's still referred to. Where's the naming in here? Wasn't it called? Yeah, Angelfish release. So still referred to as Angelfish. So I guess you're right. It's just an update to that. But nonetheless, here we are with updates. Now let's actually look at it. I did do, and we can pull up the dashboard here. We'll log into it. Look wise, it's pretty much the same. I'll admit this though. The one thing I noticed is when I went and loaded some of the applications, like I set up these seem to install way faster than I did last time without pausing and hanging up. I haven't done much. I just loaded net data and Nextcloud just real quick to see if it worked. It worked. I was like, cool, success. I didn't go a lot further with it other than logging into the dashboard to see if it works. But the real thing a lot of people want to know about, and this is I'm going to do a more complete video on this tomorrow. I'll have it released. But these are the statistics, and here someone will want them. We'll throw them in the link here in the chat, but I'll be doing a video on it tomorrow. But the question people have is, how does it perform? And people seemed upset last time that I didn't do any testing with iSCSI. So this time I did. You'll have to ignore the fact that I had a typo in here. It says TrueNAS Core 13 ZFS. I meant NFS. So I tested NFS and iSCSI for each test. So run down all the list here, and here's scale still on small block size writes, just can't keep up. It's just not as fast and not as performant. So it kind of depends on your workload. So here's your IOPS at 4K. Your small block size performance is just not good on there. So if you have something that needs to write a lot of small blocks, it's not. Oddly, slightly faster on the 1 meg. Not a lot, slightly. Thought that was kind of cool. But then back over here to 4K block performance, these small writes are just killer on it. 4K, which ones? These are 8K. So 4K block, 8K block, better performance, but still not great. What else do we have here? 128K block, neck and neck. So it really only seems to have hangups with, 128K still not great, but it's the small file writes that seem to really cause it to have performance issues. I mean, these are so close, it's almost within margin of error, 1088, 1079. So once you get to these larger 1 meg block sizes, most of the time it can handle it pretty well. But when you get down to some of the other ones, you can see it's never really the winner on any of these. It just doesn't crush it. It loses quite a bit. But if your workload isn't that, then none of that matters. That's one of the problems some people have is about what is the workload you're going to run. That is a huge deterministic factor of what technology you need, what performance you need. That's just where the big deal is right there. So do you know if XE offloads operation to the storage appliance? I don't know. I think so. I think certain things, because there is what is that called? Then iSCSI copy. I think like certain iSCSI functions can, but that's mostly it. It doesn't. I guess what are you trying to ask more specifically? What is the function that you would like offloaded? So I understand a better question there. Yeah, it may not. We'll go with. I'm not unless I'm really clear on the ask, like, for example, if you have an iSCSI system that's aware and can offload certain workload, what is that called? It's a little bit like iSCSI is the only one I know it does it. And I think that's true for VMware too. I don't know that VMware can do uh, all the things on there. What do you call it? The VMware VAII. So we'll look up Windows ODX. I think these are iSCSI commands. Am I correct? It's offload data transfer for storage. But I believe this is it. I'm looking on the page right now. I believe this is supported, so we'll pull it up and throw it in a window here for people that are wondering. It's the offloaded data transfer, and it's a way that certain applications can talk to the storage to make the function happen at the storage level, as opposed to being handled through the virtual disk passing it through the VM. It's kind of an obscure thing. I don't know how well supported that is in there. So I post in their forums is going to be my answer for that. So it's kind of a little bit different way of handling it. What was the other one you said for? Because I'm not a VMware person, so it's VMware VAII. We'll pull that one up. See if there's Windows mentions iSCSI in here. Is for iSCSI as well? Yes. iSCSI and Fiber Channel. So these primitives applied only to there were no for NAS storage and just release vSphere, blah blah blah. It's just a way to tell iSCSI to talk to the different drives in between. So let me pull up which one was sharing. There we go. There it is in vSphere. There it is for the iSCSI. So yeah, it's just part of it on there. And you also have to have that your iSCSI target has to support this as well, or Fiber Channel, whatever you're using as a target on the back end, has to be able to support it. So it's not just a matter of does Zen or your hypervisor support it. It's does the other things support it too. And they're only for certain functions. It's not like it's a performance offloading thing. So nonetheless, let's see here. Back to TrueNAS. We can probably blog back into TrueNAS too. People love to talk about HA clustering. Unfortunately, and this is something I just tweeted today, I think they need to do a better clarification, because even if you go to their announcement page, and let's actually find their announcement page on this, because they tweeted it today, and so many people have questions. I don't know why they don't just make it clear. Go to notifications, and because Wendell liked I think it's funny. Wendell liked my reply because me and him both use TrueNAS and we both have the same question. Like, why don't you offer clarification on exactly how this works? So they, put in headlines SMB clustering. So let's go ahead and pull that up. Share screen. TrueNAS Scale adds SMB clustering, but this release complements new functionality provides clusters. You can only get this to work when you subscribe to their True Command server and then tie the servers to it. So you have to have multiple TrueNAS Scale systems. Then you have to tie it to True Command in order to get it to work. So it's kind of it's not like you just set it up locally. Now, you can host True Command locally. It does require a license. So the software, it's just a clarification I think they need to say, you need to license True Command. You need to set up True Command, get your servers tied to it. Then these options become available. So it's kind of a it's not just connect two servers together and they're clustered. It's using yet a third service. Now that service can run the True Command service can run as a Docker container within TrueNAS scale as well. That's one of the delivery models, or they have a hosted option for it where they do hosting for True Command. It's got demos you can set up and things like that for True Command. It's a slick system. I've played with it some. I didn't have a real need for it myself. That's why I don't use it in production, but it's cool. It's neat. It's a good way to monitor all of your systems. Here's an example. If you wanted to create a thick provision disk, would hand the storage appliance like TrueNAS from the block zeroing instead of the host. The block zeroing doesn't take that long. We can go to Zen server and provision things quite fast. So I don't think that's like the big deal, but maybe I'm wrong about how it works. Because I don't know. Let's go ahead and I got too many things open, so I'm closing a few of them. So many things I'm looking at here. Share screen, Chrome tab. So, if I wanted to create a new pool, we'll select a template like, I don't know, Ubuntu. YouTube test. See, what do we want? Oh, probably not this template. Doesn't really. Let's do this one here. There we go. Really doesn't matter what template I use. That's not the point. But 3 CPUs. We're gonna choose SCSI. We want a 100 gig SCSI drive. 128 live server create. All right, it's created. The disk zeroed out. I don't know what it would need to do that's faster than that. It's already ready to boot and running. So now I can start installing here. I'm not sure what the extra thing I needed done. It's provisioned. I only have 200 gigs on this particular iSCSI. This is the same extent I just used for testing. So it doesn't really need to spend a lot of time on doing that. So it just kind of happens instantly. So, not really a derail. These are good questions. I think everyone gets to learn from them. I just don't understand why I need them. That's always my question is, why do I need it? What is it? What am I missing if it doesn't do it? So, are you using core or scale? I use both. Kind of. Production, I only use core. Scale, I've been playing with it. The latest version seems more stable, but as I pointed out earlier in the video, it's not as fast at a bunch of overall performance. And more than anything else, we use a lot of TrueNAS as storage targets for our virtualization. So because it's doing storage for virtualization, I care a lot more about performance and not about Docker. If you care a lot about the Docker and the implementation they did for running applications, TrueNAS Scale's got some cool implementations for that. But unfortunately, there's some forum posts right now about people and it going wrong. So because there seems to be some instability of it. So yeah. Do you also have your scale interface lagging out after a while? I seen that was a complaint people had, was the scale interface lagging out. I don't use it enough for that to be an issue. Oh, I gotta go before I forget what I made. There we go. Force shutdown my YouTube test, and I'm gonna unprovision it and remove it. So if not, I end up creating a lot of things that I forgot that I created and then go, why did I make that? So that's why I gotta delete it before I forget. All right, now I can move on to there. I haven't really had a ton of problems with the interface. It seems to work. But I know there's people complaining about it lagging out. I do know this was a problem when you go to the apps. I did find this kind of weird. So if you're here in installed apps, but then you go to available apps, settings, advanced, I can edit this. Here's your Kubernetes settings. But if you're here, that doesn't come up, and I don't know why. Thought that was odd. I'm like, I can't get to the advanced. It's broken. Then I'm like, oh, I can get to the advanced. So I think it's weird. There's installed or managed catalogs advanced, and it doesn't work here either. So there's still some little quirkiness to it, I would say. Yeah, I don't know. Yes. Scale's running much smoother in my system so far. I've only tried it. Now we tried one in the early days of Scale before it got released. We found it to be a little buggy with some of the large deployments that we had tested it on. And I just got sick of reloading things because I was testing it on my 45 drive server, and it just got to be a lot of problems. It wasn't, yeah. Self-service and Zen Orchestra. I don't know. I don't really use it. It's a way you can assign some resources to groups in self-service, but I don't really use it. So I learned more about infrastructure. I'm progressively confused by running apps on an NAS SAN. If you do it all in the server, then just run Linux. It depends. I mean, I like the ability to better use your resources, and especially, I don't see it in this list here. But one of the things that makes a lot of sense to run in one system is like Graylog. So if you're using Graylog, it's a very robust logging application. But if you put Graylog directly on the same server where your storage is that it needs to store, because it needs so much storage, I can see some conveniences for things like that. More likely, though, the most popular use case for TrueNAS Scale is the home user market, who needs a lot of things like running Plex and all their movies and stuff like that. So I think or running Emby. Those are really solid use cases for it. I didn't load yet, and I don't know if I will on this one, the extra catalog of things, because that takes a long time to load, and that's where I found more problems. So, but the built-in applications that are supported, like NetData and Nextcloud, these worked fine. So getting through to here, let me actually go back over and get it logged in. I didn't have any problem getting this working. This worked fine. Setting it up worked fine. Going into the dashboard and loading up the data, all of that was fine. So that really hasn't there. Oh, this is everybody's favorite question right here. Any issues with TrueNAS virtual versus bare metal? I've had people people contact us after they lose all of their data, hoping they can get it back. I'm sorry, that virtual install that caused all those problems where you lost all your data, I don't know. So then someone else will go get their caps lock ready and say, but it works fine in my environment. You're adding an extra layer of complexity. Virtualizing it means more complexity, more chances for error. I don't recommend it for production. I don't recommend it unless you have a backup and are ready to execute your backup plan. Is it a fun idea to run everything on one server, or as Wendell from Level 1 Text calls it, the forbidden router? Yes, it's kind of cool to do that because it's good use of resources. So I think it's a fun project. It's a project that comes with risk. As long as you are aware of those risks, away you go. If IX Systems makes a bigger investment in VM controls, do you think TrueNAS can eventually be replaced from Xbng? I doubt it. The investment they would have to make is far greater than I think they can make. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty doubtful. I don't see where XCPNG is in terms of features versus where they are now. They are just forever apart. So I don't really see it as a viable alternative. I don't foresee them really putting the level of investment it would take to make that happen. So for my use case, much better to have one energy efficient to do it all than separate NAS and app server on its own. Yeah, and those are good reasons to do it. I understand the reasoning to consolidate everything in there. And I actually might make a video because I liked Wendell's video on his forbidden router, but he didn't cover I don't remember if he covered all the details about set it up. So I thought I might do a video on it. I understand completely the reasoning behind it, so to speak, of consolidation and efficiency. I completely think those are really good reasons. So Have you done much testing with VMs on scale? Sound core and curious what VM capabilities to home users. I don't even use VMs on core. I don't know if I'm going to use them on scale. I always found the VM system in core to be buggy. I don't know where it's at on scale. I just know people were chiming in under some type of broken VNC problem with it right now. Sorry, on raid, but as Jeff Geerling would say, treat your server like cattle. Not sure how many farms you have. You only have one cow. uh Yeah, I still haven't finished my I have just been I didn't feel like doing any more construction, so there's still no toilet in my studio. I'm good with that though. Any harm in running TrueNAS on servers whose RAID controllers don't have HBA mode? It probably won't work properly or work well. At some detailed research, really on benefit eager zero thick provisioning, which I don't think it does in cloning very large virtual disks. Yeah, it's kind of my point too, is it doesn't really um I don't really have the need for it. So it's kind of an edge use case. Okay, someone knows more about it than me. I just haven't used it. Its self-service is the equivalent to VMware's vRealize, allowing users to pick from templates to quickly spin up and tear down VMs based on groups. Yeah, I've not used it. It's one of those things that I said, maybe one day I'll play with it. But you go over here, self-service, new, and you can choose pools and groups and networks to be able to build out a lot of different things, quantity, select IP pools, et cetera, and build out stuff on that. There's actually some really interesting things you can do in Zen, because this even you can connect Terraform to this and really build some automation around the Zen orchestra tool. So I think it's pretty cool. They got a lot of this built in. But yeah, I haven't used it, so I can't really speak a lot to it. Unraid is coming into my house. I do not like anything that runs on USB. Oh. Without you trying to find a way to reset the UniFi without using a reset button? Nope, you got to use the reset button. I'm sorry. If you don't know the password, you don't have the login, you're going to have to use the reset button. All fun and games, so all the servers need to be milked at once. It finally clicked for me that you're using TrueNAS or another file system storing all your data. You must back up that system snapshot. Yes, you need to back up everything. That's the important part, is that everything gets backed up. That's where it's super important, is to do that. Back up all the things, because you never know. We have snapshots of them. I have backups that run to make sure these things get backed up. Like, this is a constant to make sure all of this is done properly, because yes, everything should have backups. Even my lab where I'm running Phoronix. Hey, look, successful backup done on June 23rd because it needed a backup. Because sometimes I do dumb things and move disks where they shouldn't be, or break something, or all that kind of stuff. So can that data hosted on one computer monitor multiple servers? I don't think they have that functionality right now. So no, not at this time. You have to go into each net data instance individually. There's not a way to get them without using their cloud system. There's not a way to get them all tied together for net data. So I still like net data, great product, but I don't know if they're going to be if they're going to make something. You could make something. You could tie them all together pretty easily. You can pull the web view out of all of them and put them in one dashboard if you wanted. So there's definitely ways it could be done. It's just not natively supported. The LR is probably the best one for home. So I really like the LR model quite a bit. Actually, we can do this. I'll drop the link to, actually, the link to this is in the description. This is a link to all the different access points. We started listing them all out, what all the features are. I'm going to do a comparison video really soon. I have a couple more things to add. I was going to do it this week, and then this week went and happened. So, but yeah, this is all the different stuff. Can I zoom in? No, it doesn't. There's a link. So we'll share, publish to web, copy. I'll throw it in here so people to click on. That way they can look at all the different access points they offer and things like that. So, but yeah, the U6LR has been pretty much my favorite. That one works really well. Put some pretty charts with Zen Orchestra on there. What else was I talking about today? I was talking about lots of things. The other one was pull up these. Let's look at something prettier here. Pull up the network. I think it's 90. 3.9. There we can see this. This one looks cooler because we look at I actually should run another. I need to run another backup, but we'll go ahead and do last 7 days because we can see when things were running. Hey, look, that's when Tom runs the big backups. These one took a little less. Maybe I was compiling something. Let's go back to the last 30 minutes, and I'm going to kick off another backup because someone reminded me of one of the backups. We had a power outage that stopped us from getting a backup. So, do you also mess with IP cameras? Think of a solution to have camera 500 meters away from MVR. Use a PT bridge solar panels. Measure the wattage. If you have enough power through the solar panels and to power it, should work. See, I have one. My UniFi one works all the way in my backyard. So I have not had much of a problem with it. So here, open up the monitors, but this is my backyard, which is I don't know. What is that? Maybe 100 feet. The Wi-Fi 6LR is in the basement. I can go all the way here in my backyard and it works. Like I can go pretty far out there, no problems. So I don't know. Not many people ever ask for. Most people want them mounted, not on a desk. But you can always 3D print a stand to make any of them mount on a desk. What cams do I recommend? I have a video on that topic, so you are in luck. So let me I'll actually drop it in here. We like the Amcrest cameras, but I'm going to share. I have a whole video where I cover all of that because people always ask. So I put it all in one video. That's got it's got the cameras I'm using, how to set them up, how to configure them, and everything else. So best way to keep everything up to date: OSS, jails, plugins, VMs. It's a lot, but don't want to miss an important patch. The unattended upgrades is how most of them work, but it kind of depends. Everything, once you start getting into jails and VMs, they have a completely different patch management system. So that's going to vary a lot how those work. So, I mean, you got to run some of them are just manual updates. There's not an automated tool for it. So it really comes down to, is there a tool for what you're doing to keep it up to date? For me, our servers all have all the Linux ones run unattended upgrades. They upgrade automatically in the background. So actually, I have a video on how to do unattended upgrades as well. But it may not work for depending on what you're running if it supports it. So we'll go ahead and throw this one in the pile of videos as well, which is it's all about how to run unintended upgrades. So there you go. That's now in there as well. It's a lot to do them. There's no doubt about that. Speaking of, this is something we'll talk about now. This is something I'm working on. Gotta log in first. Too many things open. Close all the things. And then we'll, okay, it did open in a new window. Figures. There we go. I just set this up today. It's not set up yet, but this is the new, surveillance station system by Synology, the DVA model. It's got the deep video analytics. So I just set it up, so I haven't added the cameras to it, but I'm going to be adding this and moving my cameras over to here so I can show you how all this works. It's got this. It's got built-in face recognition, so you can create face recognition results and find all the people in the cameras and create a face database of people and be able to find them. So I want to play around with it. This is a pretty slick system. So I'll be doing some videos on that. It's Synology's is coming along quite a bit with these. They're pretty slick. Have I tested the IP56 of the UniFi LR? Because I just moved my AP outside, but it will not be undercover. It'll be open to the sky. I don't know. I don't know how good I don't know if they're really solid or not. I have not tested the weather rating on those. What I have tested is your UniFi mesh ones. What they call them, like the outdoor mesh ones. Those ones we've got installed outside. But not any. We haven't tested the Wi-Fi 6 ones. Yeah, the C2 cloud storage is pretty slick. For just in general, whether you're using it for surveillance station or you're using C2 cloud storage for backups, we have a lot of people that really like the product. I only wish they had something that was multi-tenant so we could manage it. We usually sell it to people or set it up for people in a co-managed environment, but we don't have time to manage it as our backup solution because it's not set up to be multi-tenant. That's its one flaw. They're working on it, but they aren't there yet. It isn't fixed yet. But yeah, this is going to be cool once I have all this set up for the extra features that this has. It also does have this. It's got the local display. When you buy the Synology, specifically the NVR ones, they have the DVA model, I should say. They have the option to plug in an HDMI on them, so you can actually get direct video out of them, which is pretty cool. What else do they have in here? Transaction. Yeah, everything else is pretty much the same. The big differences really are the fact that they have these two things down here. They have the deep video analytics and the face recognition. So that's the feature that's going to be pretty cool to have on there. Will that face recognition on Synology work on RTSP stream? I don't know. That's why I got to do some research and find out. I'm going to plug in my Amcrest cameras to it. They're just going to be using OMVIF. I have no idea if it'll work on RTSP. My assumption is it's looking at the video, not how the video got there. That's an assumption. I don't know until I test. So that's going to be, I'm excited to do the video on it. I'm excited to do all the testing on it. So that's definitely pretty cool. Now I also have in my possession the Cisco stuff. I finally got it. I finished my Ingenious video and my testing and projects. So I'm going to be testing all the Cisco small business stuff. People have been asking about it. It's interesting. I got to see how good it works, or if it works as good as Cisco claims. I have an 18U rack. I want to get this up and organized properly. I should have a video on home setups. A couple years old. It's still something the same. Anything you do different? Not really. When it comes to the hardware to rack part, there's not much that's changed on that. So that video still holds up. I think I have my most recent one is less than, maybe it is still 2 years old. I have trouble trying to keep track of these. Home DIY. This one's a year old. So this is the video that I'll drop a link to it. Thank you for the correction, Corey. OMVIF is a discovery program. We use RTSP for video transfer. Yeah, I think whatever it uses in the back end actually stream the video. But I threw a link in for my video. If you type in like home rack DIY on my channel, you'll find it. It's the most recent version of some of the stuff. Yes, Cisco toys. What's better, UniFi or Synology? I don't know. Synology is definitely way more features, way more cameras. UniFi simplicity is on their side, so I won't lie, man. The overall simplicity of which the system works makes it compelling. So if we the UniFi NVR system, it's just simple. There you can look at what's going on in my office. See the parking lot. It's taking a second to load this camera. They're not using the grill today. There we go. Oops. Zoom in a little bit. There we go. These are at my office. This is over a VPN. It's still reasonably fast. So I like it. The Synology system's nice, and so I don't think the UniFi system's bad at all. If Cisco delivers what Cisco promised, would you use Cisco device for your business as an option? I don't know, because the problem is they already have license limitations. It's free to a limit. I got to get those details right. I don't want to just quote them, but they only offer like so many nodes for free before they hit licensing, as I understand it. So they've already Cisco'd it. Like Cisco can't help it but to be Cisco. Hey, look, there was a Kyle. We'll go back over to the events and detections. Does a cool job of finding people. There's Kyle. I can recognize him from his hair. There's Steve. There's all the car detection, but yeah, Cisco is still Cisco. So what do you use to label the cables in a rack? Label printer. Is it true that UniFi Protect isn't good at exporting bulk recordings? Not really. I don't think it's great. Have I messed with Frigate? No, I have not. Could you add the spanning tree differences? So switch reviews, UniFi and Genius, Cisco Notice example, very different costs. By default, I had to match them. Not likely. I'll do a video on that. Have you turned on low latency on UMVR? Probably not. Oh, we have someone else from Taylor, Tucky. That's awesome. Howdy, neighbor. Oh, spying on people? Yeah. Ignoring price, would you use SSDs for hard drives or critical? Yeah, absolutely. Can UI read plates? Not really. I think it has something in there for it in one of the updates, but it doesn't have that I'm aware of, like plate recognition at all. I remember, I think it's on maybe a roadmap, but it's not available right now to my knowledge. It does vehicles, like it'll find the vehicles, but it's not going to find the plates. It won't pull that. It doesn't have like the fancy stuff for there. Reading plates is a camera issue, not so much software. Kind of. So Greetings from Switzerland. Appreciate your content. Love it. Have a nice day. Awesome. I am going to wind this down. I'm going to give it 5 more minutes because I have to go pick up my son. So 5 more minutes, and then I'm going to wander out of here. So go ahead and hit those final questions, or of course, as I always like to say, hit me up in the forums. We can swap this back to my other system. This one's local, so it loads faster. Take long. Well, if I take longer, then I'll pick you up after I go. I have another event to go to, so I'll just pick you up after that. So I'll pick you up this afternoon. My son's not here. I got to go pick him up at some point in time, but he's doing dishes at his mom's, I guess. So this comes down to sometimes it's a camera thing, sometimes it's an MVR thing. So with my Synology, and I have that video I did with the Amcrest, I'm doing all the detection notification inside the camera. But if you use the DVA series Synology, you can do the detection inside the DVA system, the Synology itself. So it does vary where you do that detection information because it's essentially sent as an extra signal. I can probably pull up the info on it. So I have it in a video, but you go here to the cameras, and we'll look. So it's going to be the cameras that are driveway does this. Advanced. Actually, it's event detection, triggering. So this is extra data that the camera sends. So face detect. Can I zoom in? It's still kind of big. Face detect, tripwire, intrusion. You configure this inside the camera, and then the camera forwards the information over to the NVR. So it can be done in camera. And how do you want, enable in surveillance station, basically. And I have these human and vehicle. These are the notifications I use. So if it is a human or a vehicle instead of motion, I have those specifically set up to alert my phone. That way I know a squirrel versus a person in my driveway. It does a pretty good job of not mixing up squirrels and people. Once in a while, it'll get it wrong, but most of the time it does not. So yeah, it kind of depends. And a lot of the nice thing about doing it in the cameras is when you start scaling upwards. And for example, if you had 100 cameras that needed to do person detection, you would have to have an MVR looking at 100 streams to get that information. But if you do it inside the camera goes, got a person here, and then can trigger the recording alert. So it's kind of a workload distribution problem when you think about it from that perspective. Instead of having, an NVR intensively looking at 100 streams, you have 100 cameras assigned to a task. The iris has a harder time seeing through sun shadow changes than the human eye. Yeah, the specific problem with cameras is how many, in the photography world, we call it stops of light. How many stops of light or dynamic range do you have? And the human eye has really extensive dynamic range compared to even advanced cameras. Dynamic range of the human eye is not quite is good, and these cameras are not quite up to snuff compared to it. That's what gives us better shadow contrast. Smash the like button for Mr. Lawrence. Yes, we should do that. There is 130 viewers and 31 likes, so bash that like button for sure. Good morning. That means you are way on the other side of the world because it is good afternoon here. But all right. I'm not sure what else we wanted to talk about today. We've got the Synology covered, which wasn't really, I just started playing with it. So that's just kind of something in there. What else we here? I will be doing a video on this since someone asked. Where did I put it? I've already lost it. It's over here somewhere. I'll wait till I do it. I'm doing a video on a really cheap, cool label printer, great for home labs. So there's I think it's over here somewhere. I'll find it. Here it is. I seen it. This cute little thing. Of course, I put a label on it that says it's always DNS. But this is a label printer, and it's very handy. It hooks up to your phone. It's got just a charger, but it's Bluetooth. But let me get the link to this. This is a really cool label printer. It's so inexpensive. The refills aren't expensive. I'll drop a link for people who want to link to it directly. I'll share it in just a second. This little device. And I bought it. I've had it for a couple months, so I wanted to use it for a little while before I did a test. And I've been labeling things with it. So far, it's worked fine. They do come in different colors. There's a reason you buy a pink one. It's called the Nimbot. But yeah, it can even print QR codes and things like that. It's just a clever, simple little printer. You just type things on there and you get all these fancy stickers you can get. I like that they had cat stickers in there because, of course. But it's a cool little printer. There's a reason you get it in black, not in black. So if you get it in this, first, no one knows what it is. Second, no one will take it from you because they don't want it. If you leave this at a job site, no one will assume it's your printer. And it's actually really handy because being smooth like this, it slides right in your pocket, no problem. So you just pull it out, you print a couple labels if you have something missing. Is it a replacement for a large industrial commercial grade one? Well, no. But when you want something slips right into your pocket to print a couple labels, dude, it's just great. It's just a great little printer for that. They're average durability. It's not the most these aren't the high end labels. This is not your expensive commercial grade printer, but it's better than not having labels. And when you're on site somewhere and you're just like, oh, I just have this, and this is kind of more me, or especially for people just looking for, like a home lab situation where they just want to put a few labels. By the way, if you didn't notice, the thing's $29. Like you can't, it's $29. Like it's not a particularly expensive device. It's super easy. At $29, it's Bluetooth. You just have to use a little app on your phone. But it's just kind of neat. They do have some clear labels too. Yes. Anything will. I'm a dad, so I'm wearing cargo shirts, and my son is right. Anything will fit in the cargo shirts. So, but yeah, I got to do a video on this because it's just a clever little printer. It's simplistic. That's why I like it. But all right, well, I'm going to wind it down for now. Thank you, everyone, for joining. This was awesome, as always. Worth a shot. Any Instant On videos coming up? Nah, I don't plan on it because Instant On hasn't done anything new. I can log into it real quick to make sure I'm not wrong. But to my knowledge, the Instant On has done nothing interesting at all. So we'll go ahead and pull up the Aruba Portal. I haven't logged in a minute, so let me log in. Yep, looks the same. It doesn't look anything different. It's still super basic. These are both offline right now. They're just so, I don't know. They just don't have much in the way of features on it. Identification. Where was the settings at? Was it in here? I don't know. I didn't find it intuitive at all either. There we go. Network assignments. It was okay. It was usable. I mean, we set up some VLANs on it. I powered my cameras with it for a while, but there was nothing about it that was really blowing me away. So it was like, I don't know. Does it only work with Apple or work with it as a text printer? It only works with their app. It's a Bluetooth thing. You load their app on there. So Any hot sauce? Nothing new this week. I might do a Saturday stream. So, yeah. Have you seen the Tesla under 130 seconds? It's not a risk I'm too worried about. I'm aware of it though. It's interesting, but whatever. Nothing. I'm not super concerned about it. More headline than it was blow you away. Relaying attacks aren't new. They've been around for a couple of years. That's why it was less surprising. I was aware of it, but even they were, if you go back, I think the first relay attack with Bluetooth LE was like in 2018 or 2019. And it's just progressing it further. So yeah. Oh, that's right. For Father's Day, my son did get me some Carolina Reaper nuts. So yes, I do have those. So all right, I'm going to wind this down and end it. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I'll debate about doing a Saturday one. If you hit me up on Twitter or something, I'll encourage me to do it or something like that. So, all right. Yeah, like the Dodge Y-Tech attack. That was from 2016. That's what, 8 years ago now? 2016 or 2017, I think. That's old news, and that was a while ago. So, automotive security is not the best. That's not new. That's not news, I should say. It's unfortunately common. All right, later, everyone. Take care.